Welcome back. In this video, we're taking a look at what a Palantir bear just had to say. Just yesterday, ahead of Palantir's May 6th Q1 2024 earnings report, he is calling for the stock to go to $8 in the next 3 to 6 months. So in this video, we're going to get a better understanding of his reasoning, and I'm going to provide you my analysis on why I do not think it is likely at all. Let's go.
And for that, we bring in Tony Zapparo, CEO of Equity Set. I'm glad you're here with us because some names have run up. It was, as I was saying, you know, when things had sold off and people found value for things to run up, now it's the opposite, right? I mean, what's the big picture before we get to the names?
Seen some softening in the market, right, over the last couple weeks, three down weeks in a row, which the market was not accustomed to. And so I feel like a lot of the trades that were working, exactly like you said, first quarter, are kind of falling apart. And so that's where, in our eyes, it's trying to find the most opportunity in the ones that may have further to fall.
So what he's saying here is certainly true. We've seen some softening in the market. Palantir popped up to $27 earlier in the year, now down to $21, $22, even low 20s, heading into its earnings, which I think is actually a good thing for where the stock is going to be heading into the report. But all of that to say, the market has definitely softened up and seen some declines from its euphoric peaks not that long ago. So I don't necessarily agree with his analysis here, but it's worth noting that he's not even an equity analyst. He's just a guest on the network. So let's see what he has to say specifically about Palantir.
We're seeing a lot less value in areas that, again, just multiples have gone sky high.
And a name like Palantir, which is up 165% over 1 year and hit a high of 27 and change, where do you think this is headed and what could drive it downwards?
Yeah, so we ultimately think at some point it's going to be going down to 8.
It's at 21 right now, guys. So,
but before we get to his exact reasoning behind this statement of $8, let's talk a little bit about the technicals for where Palantir currently is. And that's where this video's sponsor, Visual Sectors, has stepped in to help us out here. Visual Sectors is a platform that gives you a precise view of the market. So we can type in the Palantir ticker, and after searching it, we have an overview of all of the trades so you can compare your strategy with what other traders are doing. And the first thing you could see here is looking at the price levels, which is what I want to look at for this video. It shows you where the professional traders and big money expect the stock to be. You can even group them by week or month to see where their trend might switch. And to have an even better understanding, you can also check the dynamics of these flows. None of them show anything near $8. Visual Sectors is built for individual investors to get access to the same data as the big institutions that you're seeing right here. And they've provided step-by-step tutorials to get you to understand how best to utilize them. It's an incredibly useful tool to become more profitable than ever. The approach is vetted by industry professionals who work closely with Wall Street experts to give you the latest stock analysis, and their research team is always developing new resources. So far, their users have had an 82.3% win rate, thanks to the expert predictions. So check out Visual Sectors using the link in the description for a 7-day free trial. And when you decide to sign up, they'll also give you an exclusive 40% discount for the first 2 months.
go ahead.
It might take a little bit to get there, but what we see is not only from, again, a 23 times price to sales aspect, which we just view as
really
astronomical.
lofty, yeah.
Yes. Obviously, it came into profitability around 2 years ago, and so that's helped what we believe is this wave kind of pushing it higher. But we think with everything else, earnings expectations kind of stabilizing, market softening, it left a big old gap at 18, right? So that's the first stop, and then really from there, 12 to 14. And so we think that's possible in the next 3 to 6 months, just depending how stubborn the market might be to the upside itself.
I was going to say, I mean, does it buck the trend? Because if tech is doing well, Palantir may just go up along with it. And then your thesis, you said you could maybe drop 50% or more, right, to go to $8. You got to see the market pull back too, or no?
I think yes, in almost every scenario, right? Of course, there's the case that Palantir just goes against and the market continues to rally higher, but that's going to help, right? When we saw the last couple of weeks, Palantir fell from 27 to 22, right? So we're talking 15% pullback when the market only did 3, 4, 5%. And so get another 3, 4, 5% from the market, there goes another 15, 20%.
So this is a point here where I believe he's conflating something where Palantir dropped 15% on a 5% indices pullback, and he's saying that if the indices pull back another 5%, that's going to correspond with an even bigger drop for Palantir, which I do not think is going to be the case. Of course, we know Palantir is a high beta stock, which means that it moves more than the market does in an amplified effect. However, I think we saw an even greater pullback of that 15% because this is Palantir breaking out past its prior resistance of $20. And so that means that's just even more enhanced volatility. I actually think the volatility has reduced in recent months because Palantir is in this $20 range that it looks like is pretty good support at this point. So I believe he's basically conflating and using some fear tactics almost to say that if the market does pull back, maybe Palantir goes to $15, which I don't think is the case. I think Palantir is now much more tied to fundamentals than it ever has been before. And this seems very unlikely to me.
Off of the price of Palantir. So it will help, and that's the risk reward is cautiously bearish on that. Just because Palantir could rip higher, try to test 27, and if the market's strong behind it, traders are going to push it.
Do you buy it at $8?
Given that I think it's a great company, right?
Right.
Valuations are stretched at $8, yes. Back up the truck, right? Given that nothing financially has changed,
then you would
I think
like
you
it.
do. Then
yeah,
I like it.
because then it's more fair because it's not the 23 times price to sales where we're seeing now.
So here when asked if he would buy at $8, he's a little hesitant, but then he realized kind of have to say yes, which I think is pretty funny. Who doesn't want to buy Palantir at $8? I mean, when we know it's worth 3 times more in the public market. What are you going to do? Well, you can't dictate your own prices for stocks. Of course, you can play the waiting game like everything money and say the stock's going to $5 and then not buy when it's $5.67 and miss out on a 5x. That's one way of doing things, but I think it's a bit comical, this analysis. The reason I wanted to share it today is to, first of all, put it in context about what we looked at with the technicals, with visual sectors, as well as share that I think the market certainly has been weak, but I think Palantir is going to be relatively stronger going forward. Now, this is all subject to change. Obviously, with Palantir's earnings report, we could certainly see a break below $20 if numbers aren't as strong as possible, but the research I've been doing shows that is probably not the case. Now, I don't trade around earnings like this guy might be suggesting. I am more focused on the long term, and I think that's more of a winning strategy, but I would love to know what you think in the comments. Until next time.
Okay, Tony Zaparo, a lot of fun to take a look at things that may go to the downside. Thank you so much of Equity Set.
You.
Good to see you. Thanks for joining us here on Set.